This is so easy. Definitely not me. It's definitely you. Okay, I got this. Huh? Ah! Birds, no! Bye, Sharpie. Bye, Mr. Mixer. Bye, Bongo Tie. Bye. Bye, Vampire Clip. Bye, Mr. Mixer. Bye, Mixer. Oh, I died.
Mixers no longer need to die. Nova has arrived. And like a phoenix, the Mixer's vitality is reborn. The Mixer can jump higher, run faster, and like wearing nothing, the Mixer is fearlessly charging into this new world weightless, reinvigorated, and naked.
Zaxcom! We're gonna roll in the rehearsal. Lock it up. Roll sound.
Sound speed.
Roll camera. Speeding. Slate in. Mark it. Colleen's early for the first time. Take one. Where is she?
Who's gonna answer the first team? Walkie check. What's your 20? She hasn't left the hotel yet.
Sorry I'm late. RF interference. Nova routing, fader assign, and record enable. What is routing? Routing is assigning audio sources to record tracks, a mix track, or an output bus. Zaxcom's mixer recorders are unique in that you can route any input to any track or output. In this video, we're going to route 5 channels of audio, 4 being received on an internal MRX 414 receiver module, and an analog boom to both tracks and faders. We'll start with routing the tracks. Press and hold the trim button to get to the track assign menu. There are 3 different input sources audio can be assigned from: analog inputs, digital inputs, or radio mic receiver inputs. You can toggle between these sources via the function keys F9, F10, and F11. We're going to start with F11, which corresponds with our MRX 414 receiver modules. Using the menu knob to scroll through the routing matrix, you can enable crosspoints by pressing the menu knob in the crosspoint box you want to set. X stands for post-fader track, P stands for pre-fader tracks. Typically, you'd send all of your inputs to a mono track post-fader, since this is your mono mix track. We're using 4 receiver inputs and 1 analog input. So we're going to enable radio mic receivers 1 through 4 onto track 1 here, then press F9 and place an X on analog input 1 into record track 1. Next, we'll assign our individual inputs to pre-fader ISO tracks. We'll start with our receiver inputs. Press F11 and click on the menu pot twice to place a P for pre-fader on each track. Now keep in mind that track 1 is our mix track, so we'll be starting by routing radio mic input 1 to record track 2, radio mic input 2 to record track 3, radio mic input 3 to track 4. Then press F8 to view tracks 5 through 8 and route radio input 4 to record track 5. You can also push and hold the menu pot as you scroll through to move vertically through the menu. When you're done with assigning receivers, hit F9 and route boom on analog input 1 to record track 6. Remember, you'll have 6 tracks in use. Track 1 is your post-fader mix track, and tracks 2 through 6 as your pre-fader ISO tracks. Now we're ready to set up the faders. It looks like there are only 5 faders on the Nova, but each of these 5 faders has 3 functions and can be assigned to one of 5 banks. So really, you have 75 functions accessible at the push of a button. The 3 functions are fader levels, input trim, and ZaxNet gain. This may sound daunting, but it's so easy to set up. To get into fader assign, you press the F10 key or press the main menu pot, then select fader assign. Just like in the track routing screen, you can easily switch between analog, digital, and radio mic receiver inputs via the F9, F10, and F11 keys. On the top is where you toggle between the 5 banks via the F7 and F8 keys. The default screen is your analog inputs. Along the top row, you'll see the mic line inputs 1 through 4 and the 2 additional return inputs. In this video, we're going to set up 4 wireless transmitters and 1 hardwired boom on fader bank 1. Let's start with our 4 wireless lavs. Press F11 for receivers, then place an X for radio mic receiver input 1 on fader 1. Input 2 on fader 2, input 3 on fader 3, and input 4 on fader 4. Then we'll press F9 to return back to analog inputs. Then press and hold the menu pot to scroll vertically and assign analog input 1 to fader 5. Now that these faders are assigned, let's go over how to use them. Natively, each of the faders are controlling the mix fader level. If you hit the trim button, you're controlling the input gain of the input assigned to that fader. You can see the trim adjustment on both the LCD screen, where small circles scroll horizontally in the corresponding track, and by the LED position shifting as you move the fader. When you hit the ZaxNet button, you're controlling the input gain for the transmitter that's associated with the unit ID assigned to that input. This is also shown on the LED position around the corresponding encoder knob. Now we can set up to record. Let's enable the tracks we want to record to. Press and hold 3 to get to the record enable matrix. Using the menu key, place an X to arm the tracks you want to record. For our setup, we're arming tracks 1 through 6 on the primary card. Be sure to always have the corresponding mirror tracks enabled. I have them all checked here as a precaution. Any track not in use won't mirror anyway. Now that we've armed the tracks to record, let's name them. Go into the main menu, select track names, click on the track name to change it. We'll start with track 1 being our mono mix, tracks 2 through 5 being our lavs, and track 6 being our boom. Now all you have left to do is hit record.
Oh shit.
I like turtle.
Pro tip, can you wire at base camp?
This isn't espresso.
Whose life am I gonna destroy today?
Look at this pretty young man. I'm gonna tear you in half like a phone book. Hey! Can you go to base camp and wire talent?
But my gear's already here.
Thank you. I'll text you the address. Rhetorical question.
36 minutes.
Yeah, of course you can. When you can't be next to your sound cart, but you need your lavs to sound perfect, all you need is your prep transmitters and a single URX100 receiver. You can dial into each transmitter's frequency you want to listen to directly, even if you're miles away from the mixer. Dude, you spelled my name wrong.
Okay, and we're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. What is... Oh my...
I'm not gonna eat that. I'll see you on set.
See ya, yeah, okay.
You spelled my name wrong.
Don't let it burn, don't let it fade. I'm sure I'm not being rude, but it's just your attitude. Were you lying all the time? Was it just a game to you? But I'm in so deep. You know I'm such a fool for you. You've got me wrapped around your finger. Do you have to let it linger? Do you have to? Do you have to? Do you have to let it linger?
You spelled my name wrong. Earlier in the video.
My name has two
My name
L's
has
in
two
it.
L's in it, Nick, right?
2 L's. You'll pay for that. You'll pay for that.